I'm a sick woman. I'm very upset. Very. I'm alone in this house, and I'm an invalid, and tonight I overheard a telephone conversation that upset me dreadfully. A woman's going to be killed when a train comes. In fact, if someone doesn't come at once, I'm afraid I'll go out of my mind.
I see. Well, I will speak to Miss Phillips as soon as she comes in.
Miss
And
Phillips?
what is your name, madam?
When do you expect her in?
I really couldn't say. She went out to supper at 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock? Oh, but it's not 11 yet. Oh, my clock has stopped. I thought it was running down. What time is it?
Just, 15 minutes past 11.
What was that?
What was what, madam?
That click just now in my own telephone, as though someone had lifted the receiver off the hook, off the extension telephone downstairs.
I didn't hear it, madam. Now about
But
it,
I did. I did. There's someone in this house, someone downstairs in the kitchen, and they're listening to me now. That is... Oh, I won't pick it up again. I won't let them hear me. I'll be quiet, and then they'll... Oh, but if I don't call someone now while they're still down there, there'll be no time. I've got to get to that operator. Oh, answer.
Your call, please.
Operator, I'm in desperate trouble.
I am sorry I cannot hear you. Please speak louder.
I don't dare. There's someone listening. Can you hear me now?
I am sorry.
Oh, but you've got to hear me. Oh, please, you've got to help me. There's someone in this house, someone who's going to murder me, and you've got to get in touch with the police. Oh, there it is. Did you hear it? He's put it down. He's put down the extension phone. He's coming up the stairs. Oh, give me the police department. Give me the police department.
One moment, please. I will connect you.
Hurry. Oh, hurry, I can hear him. He's coming here. Oh no. Oh, what are you going to do to me? Oh, don't come near me. I haven't done anything, please. I don't know anything. No.
Police Department, Precinct 43, Sergeant Martin speaking. Hello, Police Department, Precinct 43, Sergeant Martin speaking.
Police Department?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Must have got the wrong number. Don't worry. Everything's okay.
Thank you, Miss Agnes Moorhead, for another memorable performance. Miss Moorhead will return in just a moment.
Say, Harlow, you got so wound up on Autolite resistor spark plugs a while back, you never told me whether you saw the state football game last week.
You bet I saw it. And say, did you notice the big gaps that State knocked in that enemy line?
Yes.
Reminded me of that wide gap in Autolite resistor spark plugs.
Now, Harlow.
You know, when you replace your old narrow gap spark plugs with wide gap Autolite resistor spark plugs, by Cornelius, your engine idles smoother, you have better luck with lean gas mixtures, actually save gas.
Harlow, I'm talking about football. Oh, by the way, how'd you like the way State's line cut down enemy interference?
Great. Almost as good as the way Autolite resistor spark plugs cut down spark plug interference with radio and television reception.
What a team. What a team.
Yes, friends, when it comes to team play, you really get it with those sensational new Autolite resistor spark plugs. And other Autolite engineering first. And no wonder, for Autolite resistor spark plugs are one of over 400 automotive, aviation, and marine parts made by the 26 nationwide Autolite plants, all famous for Autolite-engineered dependability. So, friends, don't dilly-dally, dawdle, or delay, but hop down tomorrow to your friendly Autolite dealer and get a set of wonderful new wide-gap Autolite resistor spark plugs. He's got just the type and size to fit your car. And, friends, remember, too, Autolite means spark plug.
Ignition-engineered resistor spark plug.
Autolite means batteries.
Stay full batteries.
Autolite means ignition system.
The lifeline of your car.
And now here again is Miss Agnes Moorehead.
My thanks to producer Tony Leader for affording me this opportunity to play Lucille Fletcher's wonderful story once again. And my thanks to the cast and the musicians and sound men who helped make it successful. The suspense program will always hold a special place in my affections, and I'll be listening with great interest next Thursday when radio's outstanding theater of thrills brings us little Margaret O'Brien starring in Ray Bradbury's story, The Screaming Woman, another gripping study in
Suspense.
Agnes Moorehead has recorded Sorry, Wrong Number in album form. Miss Moorehead may currently be seen in the Warner Brothers picture Johnny Belinda. Music on tonight's suspense play was composed by Lucien Morawek and conducted by Lud Bluskin. The entire production was under the direction of Anton M. Leader. In the coming weeks, Suspense will present such stars as Ronald Coleman, Rosalind Russell, Claude Rains, and William Bendix. Make it a point to listen each Thursday to Suspense, radio's outstanding theater of thrills. And next Thursday, same time, hear Margaret O'Brien in The Screaming Woman.
This is the Autolite Suspense Show. Volunteers are needed for the armed forces of the United States. Your nearest recruiting station will have complete information. Good night. Switch to Autolite.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
When this dead hand moves, the monster created by a man they called Mad is turned loose to strike terror into the hearts of men. To shock women into uncontrolled hysteria.
Elizabeth!
To prey upon the innocence of children. This is the story you've heard about, talked about. The spine-tingling, blood-chilling story that stuns your emotions. Frankenstein.
Don't touch that!
Bolivar watch time. Here's a distinguished timepiece, the 21-year-old Bolivar president in the charm and color of natural gold, curved, streamlined, and exceptional value.
Presentation of the world's pioneer broadcasting station, KDKA, here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Countdown for blast off. X minus 5, 4, 3, 2, X minus 1, fire.
From the far horizons of the unknown come tales of new dimensions. These are stories of a future. Adventures in which you'll live in a million, could be years, on 1,000 maybe worlds. The National Broadcasting Company presents X minus 1. The Clifford D. Simak story, Drop Dead. Now, X minus 1. and the story of an unbelievable planet. Listen to Drop Dead.
Exactly 1 hour and 20 minutes after we sent the survey ship out on its tail, the critters showed up. Ordinarily, when you make a landing on an unknown planet, it takes at least a week for any life to come creeping out of hiding and sneak a look. But there they were, the critters. They were almost cow-sized, but not as graceful as a cow. Their bodies were put together as if every blessed one of them had run full tilt into a wall. Their hides were splashed with large squares of pastel colors, the kind of color one never finds on any self-respecting animal. Violet, pink, orange, chartreuse. The overall effect was in a checkerboard, made by an old lady who did crazy quilts. Max Weber, our biologist, stood at the tail fin with me and stared.
Look at that on their heads. Those antlers.
Those are not antlers, my friend.
Well, I was afraid to say it. It looks like vegetation. As if they were trying to hide behind a skimpy thicket.
And what bothers me is the fruit and vegetables. That is fruit and vegetables growing on their heads.
Hey, watch it. One of them's broken away from the herd and coming over this way.
Step back. Give me a clear shot in case it charges.
Look, here it comes.
What? How do you like that? It just dropped.
Ted, that animal just walked up to us and dropped dead.
We left the critter lying where it fell and started to set up camp. Carl Parsons, our ecologist, had the stove together and the supper started before the last tent peg was driven. I dug out my diet kit and mixed up my formula, and all of them kidded me about it the way they always did. It didn't bother me. Their kidding was automatic, and I had automatic answers. I know ulcers must sound silly and archaic. You ask any medic, he'll tell you they don't happen anymore. But I have a riddled stomach and a special diet kit to prove that they sometimes do. After supper, Carl Parsons, the ecologist, Max, and I dragged the critter in and had a good look at it.
Hey, look at this, Ed. This animal's got different colored blocks on it, just like a checkerboard. Look at this one.
Holes.
Yeah. Just like one of those peg sets the kids use as toys. Here, look what I found out of that. I'll poke it with my knife. There.
Looks like a bee.
Well, it is. On top of being a tomato bush and a grapevine, this critter is a walking beehive.
Why couldn't they be something simple? It never is.
You know, this is a screwy place.
The critters?
No, not the critters. The planet itself. Never saw one like it. It's positively naked. No trees, no flowers, nothing. Almost as if someone had said, let's make a simple planet. Let's cut out all the frills. Let's skip all the biological experiments and just work on the basics. One form of life and the grass for it to eat.
We unshipped the experimental animals, the rats, the zartils from Centauri, and the pumpkins from Polaris. The pumpkins made an unholy racket because pumpkins are always hungry. You just can't give them enough to eat. You turn them loose and they eat themselves to death. We got them all unshipped and set up under a shed in rows when Max walked up to me thoughtfully, chewing on a toothpick the way he always did.
Ed, there's something wrong.
What do you mean?
There are no insects here. I wandered around, laid down in a dozen different places. Stands to reason a man should find some insects if he looked all morning. It is natural.
What about the bees?
What bees?
Well, the ones that were in the critter. Didn't you see any?
No, I didn't get close to any critter herds.
Birds?
Not a one. Oh, I was wrong about the flowers. The grass is tiny flowers.
For the bees to work on.
Very neat, isn't it?
I'm not so sure.
You're listening to Drop Dead, on X-1.
Every one of you undoubtedly has a headache or pain remedy that you swear by. But haven't you noticed that on some occasions it fails you? That there are times it does not seem to work? On these occasions, let me suggest that you try Anacin, for here is a remedy that I'm sure won't fail you. You'll find the fastest and most complete relief in Anacin you have ever experienced. The reason is simple. Anacin contains not one pain-soothing agent alone, but 4. One of which is in all probability the remedy you now customarily take to relieve pain. You can get Anacin at your druggist for a few cents. Your money back if you're not pleased. I'll spell the name. Anacin.
Ipana presents Bucky Beaver's Face Guard.
Brush it, brush it, brush it. Here's a new Ipana with some brand new flavor. Get dandy for your teeth. It's Major, and he's headed this way.
I'm going to make cavities in everybody's teeth. Now, Beaver, I'm going to blast holes in your teeth. Ipana!
New Ipana knocks out decay germs best of all eating brands, including fluoride toothpaste. Brush it, brush it, brush it. Here's a new Ipana with a brand new flavor. Knocks out decay germs best. Fresh, clean, and minty. You'll like it. New Ipana toothpaste.
Yo-ho, yo-ho, brush, let's all lather, boys, whichever you've the notion.
50 cents for shaving cream, $1 for the lotion.
Old Spice means quality, said the captain to the bosun. So look for the package with the ship that sails the ocean. Yo-ho, 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 yo-ho.
Now back to X-1 and the Clifford Simac story, Drop Dead.
The bio team had the critter spread out on a canvas tarp. They were happily chopping him up in small pieces with a scalpel.
Ed, I've got news for you. No brain. What? No brain. We can't find one, and there's no nervous system.
That's impossible. How can a highly organized, complex animal exist without a brain or nervous system?
It's got everything else. As near as we can figure it out, there are at least a dozen different kinds of flesh. Some fish, some fowl, some good red meat, maybe even a little lizard.
Well, an all-purpose animal. We found something finally.
If it's edible, and if it doesn't poison you, if it doesn't grow hair all over you.
Well, that's up to you fellas. I'll get the cages down, and you can start killing off the little animals to your heart's content.
And there's only one insect, these bees. And we never see these unless we're near a critter herd. And no birds, no fish in the water. Not even a single-cell paramecium.
Yeah, I was talking it over with Max.
You know, I'd give my right arm to hear a cricket or a mosquito or even a hornet.
This is the strangest thing we've been... Hey, Max, what are you chewing?
Toothpick.
That's no toothpick. Spit it out, spit it out. That's grass.
Oh, I don't know. I must have just picked it automatically to chew on. It's just a habit, I guess.
Yeah. Well, go on with the report.
Well, it's a walking filet mignon. That animal is an all-purpose for sure. It lays eggs, gives milk, and has 6 different kinds of red meat. Makes honey, 2 kinds of fowl, 1 of fish, and a whole lot of others we can't identify.
Then, of course, the bacteria.
And what about the bacteria?
The critters swarm with them. And all of them the same. You know, it normally takes 100 different kinds of bacteria to make the metabolism work. But here there's only one. It must do all the work of the 100 other species do. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the brains and the nervous system you couldn't find with your knife. The bacteria doubling in brass for both systems.
The whole place balances. Nature's never static, never standing still. But here on this planet, it's standing still. Where's the competition? Where's the evolution? It's as if long ago all these life forms said, Let's quit this feuding. Let's get together. Let's cooperate. Symbiosis.
Well, we need another critter to work on.
I'll bet you we get it.
Luckily, Max didn't take Carl's bet. Right after breakfast, the critter came in and died with a savoir-faire that was positively marvelous. We unloaded all our supplies and got ready for a long stay. We were feeding all the experimental animals on the critter now. The carnivorous ones ate the critter meat, and the vegetarians chomped on critter fruit and critter vegetables. They all grew sleek and sassy. We were sitting around after supper one night when suddenly we heard something.
Hey!
What is it?
Listen!
Thunder.
Listen!
I think... All right, quick. Everybody up into the ship.
What is it?
A herd of critters. Look, you see the dust? They're coming this way in a stampede. We swarmed up the ladder and tumbled into the port. Below us, the stampede critters went grinding through camp. There seemed to be millions of them. They came pouring past for almost an hour. When it was all done, we came down and surveyed the damage.
Well, the animals are safe. They were under the tail fins.
Everything else is gone. Tents carried away. Food supply is gone.
How about the emergency rations in the ship?
I had to move them down to the supply tent so they'd be handy. They're gone, dashed into the mud.
Well, even if we lifted ship immediately, it's at least 7 weeks to the nearest contact point. And no rations.
Well, gentlemen, I suggest you try on your bibs. There'll be steak for dinner.
Steak?
That's right. Steak or fowl or fish or honey, whichever you like.
You mean eat critter?
You got any other ideas?
Well, for one time, Dad, I wish I had your ulcers. You've got your diet kit in your pack, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's get a good fire going and throw on a chunk of critter.
The crew ate about a critter a day. They didn't seem to mind. Just at breakfast time, one would walk in and keel over. The crew ate like there was no tomorrow. I waited for them to break out in a rash or start turning green with purple spots or grow scales or something. But nothing happened. They felt better than they ever had. But then one morning, Max Weber turned up sick.
Well, gentlemen, I've just taken a sample of my own blood.
How do you feel?
Lousy. I'm loaded with bacteria. Critter bacteria. I've checked some of the others. They've got a lower count than I have.
Well, that figures. You got a head start.
No.
The rest of them have just been eating critter for a week. Hey, remember the day you ran out of toothpicks and took to chewing on a grass stem?
Yeah. Well, we can't stop eating critter. It's all the food we have.
Well, we might stop eating critter now. And there's my diet kit. We might make it home.
Your diet kit wouldn't last us 3 days.
I took a blood sample on the test animals. They've got a bacteria count almost as high as mine.
Well, it doesn't make any difference. We still have to eat critter. We haven't got any choice.
That night, Weber disappeared. We hunted him for 3 days. He couldn't have gone very far, but we didn't find him. We did find one queer thing, though.
Hey, over here! Down in the gully!
Hey, what is it?
That white fungus. Kind of a ball. It wasn't here last week.
couldn't find Weber. And then about 4 days later, Carl woke me up.
Ed, get up. Get up.
What's the matter?
The animals. The test animals. They're encysting. They're turning into cocoons or chrysalis or something.
What?
All of the test animals, the guinea pigs, the dogs, they're turning into white fungus balls.
Carl. The ball we found out in the field.
Weber. Max Weber. It's got to be.
We had some trouble finding the place because the land was so flat and featureless. We finally located it just as dusk was setting in. It split. It looks like an egg after a chicken's been hatched. Carl?
Well, what do you think? Look inside. There are two halves of that cocoon. Look at the marks. You can see what it is now. Ed, you're the only one who had a chance. I think you should leave right now. Get back to the center and tell them. You've got your diet kit. You can make it. No wonder there are just the critters here. Take one drink of water. Chew a single grass stem. Take one bite of critter. Do any one of those things and you turn into one of them. Listen, Ed. You take your diet kit and notes and get out of it.
But I can't run out on you.
Forget us. We're not human anymore. You must not stay. If you do, in a day or two, a critter will come in and drop dead for you. And you'll go crazy all the way back home, wondering which one of us it was.
I walked slowly over to the ship and I stood at the foot of the ladder, holding the notes and the diet kit against my chest. I thought of all the things we'd been through together. The crew, how they'd always kidded me about the diet kit. I thought of almost 10 years eating that awful goo, and that I could never eat like a normal human because of my ulcerated stomach. Maybe they were the lucky ones, I told myself. If a man got turned into a critter, he'd probably come out with a whole stomach and never worry about how much or what he ate. The critters never ate anything except the grass. But maybe, I thought, that grass tasted just as good to them as steak or a pumpkin pie would taste to me. So I stood there for a while and I thought about it.
Ed, what are you doing back here?
Carl, I just took that diet kit and threw it out into the waste disposal unit.
What are you talking about?
My friend, I am very hungry. What have you got for supper?
X-1 has brought you Drop Dead. X-1 was directed by George Butzat and is an NBC Radio Network production.
Constipation can be a problem for anyone, even doctors. And when constipation occurs, it's interesting to see just what doctors consider important about a laxative they might use or recommend. Well, a majority of the doctors we heard from had this to say.
A laxative should be effective, gentle, close to natural acting. A medicine that can be used with complete confidence.
Now, X-Lax has been popular with many doctors and millions of people over the years because chocolated X-Lax is effective. Overnight, it helps you toward your normal regularity. X-Lax is so gentle, so close to natural acting, there's no upset. That's why many doctors and millions of people use X-Lax with complete confidence. X-Lax, the laxative that helps you toward your normal regularity, gently, overnight.
Presentation of the world's pioneer broadcasting station, KDKA, here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Adventures in time and space, transcribed in future tense. Dimension National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with Street and Smith, publishers of astounding science fiction, bring you Dimension X.
Nobody knows exactly when the nightmare began. They must have planned it for years, though, because looking back, you can find little incidents here and there. Like the concrete mixer in New Jersey that killed the bricklayer. And the time Senator Milburn was sucked into the roto-press at the Capitol Office Building. Unrelated accidents, we thought at the time. But they add up now. The day we really should have suspected was when the men walked off the construction job at the new Brookmeadow atomic pile on Long Island. I'll never forget that day. I was working as a statistical clerk in the project then, operating one of those miracle computing machines developed to fill the requirements of Army ordnance. They called it ENIAC.
Mr. Gurney?
Huh? Oh, yes, Bella?
The chief wants to see you in his office.
Me?
Unless you're no longer Samson Gurney, he wants to see you.
Oh, well, of course. What do you suppose?
I do not read minds, tea leaves, or crystal balls.
Of course. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have asked.
Don't apologize.
I'm sorry.
And don't wait for me. Mr. Hawk is in a hurry.
Yes, I'll go in right away, of course. Her name was Bella Roscoe. She was Mr. Hawk's secretary. I had always thought her a very attractive woman, but for some reason she didn't seem to like me. Of course, on a clerk's salary, I couldn't exactly afford to take ladies to the best places. But I've often thought that if there weren't such a disparity in our ages, I might have... But then...
Come in.
You wanted to see me, Mr. Hawk?
Gurney, I thought those electronic computations were infallible.
They are, sir.
We got a kickback from the chief physicist. These nuclear equations are inaccurate.
No, they aren't, sir.
I'm telling you what the memo says.
Well, sir, occasionally, if there's an overload, the machine goes haywire. Sort of has a nervous breakdown, you might say.
Hmm?
We usually rest it up for 24 hours, and it's okay again.
Well, do whatever has to be done.
Yes, sir.
Oh, and Gurney.
Yes, sir.
You've been with the Bureau for over 15 years now. It would be a shame to have to remove you because you aren't keeping your mind on your work.
Oh, Mr. Hawk, I hardly think anyone...
Excuse me. Hawk speaking. What? Safe what? All of them? Well, have you tried to talk to them? Yes, of course. I'll send one of the safety engineers over. This place is falling apart piece by piece. Miss Roscoe?
Yes, sir.
The men on the construction gang at the new building have walked out on us.
What?
Someone slipped this morning and fell into a turbine.
No.
Get the chief safety engineer. Have him over there right away.
Yes, sir.
Oh, and contact the personnel office. Have them ask the union to order the men back to work. Get back to me.
Yes, sir.
Mr.
I'm
Hawk...
sorry, Gurney. I have no time to discuss anything further. Get on the job and stay awake, or we'll have to make some changes.
But, Mr.
That's
Hawk,
all,
I assure
Gurney.
you...
That's all.
Now, you probably gathered by this time that I wasn't a very important man at Brookmeadow. I hated Mr. Hawk with a passion because of his superior attitude. And because I knew that Miss Roscoe admired him as a man of strength and decision. I was secretly happy he was having trouble with his construction crews. That evening, I wandered over to the site of the new atomic pile to see where the man had fallen into the turbine. They had the construction area fenced off with barbed wire and a security guard stalking.
Hold it, buddy. You can't go in there. That's a restricted area.
I'm Samson Gurney from the statistical section. Here's my identification.
I'm sorry, Mr. Gurney. Nobody's allowed in the area.
I see.
We had a lot of the employees come over tonight to take a look, but nobody gets in. What is?
Tell me, was he, killed instantly?
Like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This guy was checking a magnetic field inside the turbine, see? Right down inside it. It's all over.
But if it wasn't hooked up...
Look, Mr. Gurney, they got smarter guys than me trying to figure these things out. Yesterday was a concrete mold. Wham! 2 guys get sucked right into the mixer.
My.
3 days ago, a bulldozer starts up by itself and runs wild. 1 killed. 2 almost. Go figure it out.
You know what I think? Sabotage.
We got more guards and FBI men in here than we got workers. Flea couldn't get through without proving he didn't come off a Russian wolfhound.
Now, I'm a statistician. All my life, I've been interested in statistics. So, a simple-sounding thing like this started me off. I went back to the office that evening instead of going home, and for the next 2.5 hours, I computed figures on the probability of industrial accidents for the types of machines we were using. I took one look at my figures and went down to Hawk's office. Just as I figured, he was staying late working on a settlement with the construction workers.
Yes?
Oh, good evening. I saw the light.
Oh, Mr. Gurney, what are you doing here?
Is Mr. Hawk working late?
Yes, I am, too.
I wonder if I could see him a moment.
We're busy right now. Could you make it tomorrow?
It's very urgent. I'll wait, if you don't mind.
Suit yourself.
Miss Roscoe, I wonder if perhaps you would consider having dinner with me this evening after you're through.
I have a date, Mr. Gurney.
I was thinking we might go to Raymond's. They have very good spaghetti.
Mr. Hawk has already asked me to have dinner with him at the Golden Shish Kebab.
Well, of course, that's out of my class.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Hawk, Mr. Gurney would like to see you a moment. He says it's very urgent.
Urgent? All right, I'll give him a minute.
Okay.
Thank you, Miss Roscoe. Mr. Hawk, in the past 3 months, industrial accidents all over the country have taken a sharp, unexplained upswing.
Why don't you stop playing FBI man and stick to your job? Which, incidentally, you haven't been doing too well. You and our computing machines have made mistakes before. Now, this is probably another. I'll have Miss Ross come, sir. What's the matter with this blasted buzzer? Miss Roscoe! Miss Roscoe!
Yes, sir.
Stop this blasted buzzer. Get a repairman, a mechanic, anything, but stop the thing. And you, Gurney, get out!
I went back to my office to get my hat and coat, feeling about as unhappy and humiliated as a man can feel. He had thrown me out in front of her. The office was dark and deserted. The whole building seemed oppressive and unnatural. I walked across to my desk. In front of me, the ENIAC glowed and chattered eerily as it worked on the equations we had fed it that morning. Its many-fingered circuits hung against the wall like some great octopus. And the thousands of tubes glowed orange and blue in the dark like 1,000 eyes staring at me. It almost seemed alive. Then it increased its tempo a moment, and a fleeting notion crossed my brain that it was laughing at me. Laughing like all the others. What was the matter with me? What? I shut my desk drawer and began to put the cover on my ENIAC typewriter when an amazing thing happened. The most amazing single incident of my life. Alone in the darkness, with no one at the keyboard, the ENIAC typewriter began to type. Am I going crazy? This can't be. There's nobody here. There's nobody here. Oh, no. I'm just imagining it. It's in my mind. But I hadn't imagined it. The paper was there in the carriage. Did I dare read it? Or would the whole thing suddenly vanish and send me shrieking to the nearest psychiatrist? Sampson Gurney, there are some equations better left unsolved. The answer to yours is death. It was not until I turned to go that I was suddenly aware of the utter and complete silence of the room. Then it dawned on me. The ENIAC had stopped working.
expect me to believe this? It's insane.
Mr. Hawk, I'm a saint.
Take it easy, Gurney. Now, this is just some practical joke someone in the office is playing.
There was no one in the office.
Of course not. They wired up the machine and left.
I checked the machine myself, Mr. Hawk.
All right, Gurney. You leave this note with me, and I'll turn it over to the security force for further investigation.
But-
No buts, Gurney. The security men will handle it.
Yes, sir.
Now, maybe you've been working too hard lately. You've got to relax more. Now, here, let me light that cigarette for you.
I watched him trying to make the lighter work.
I don't understand this. I just put fluid in it. There's a brand new flame.
It seemed ridiculous. A little piece of mechanism like a cigarette lighter frustrating the big important executive.
Oh, blast this lighter. Here's the match.
It was such a small thing. And yet as I watched him, a thought began to take shape in my mind. Nebulous at first, incredible perhaps. But it grew.
You just relax for a few days. Everything will turn out all right. Now, the main thing is not to let little things upset you.
It was the cigarette lighter that gave me the idea. And what Hawk had said about little things. For the next week, I observed 1,000 petty little annoyances around the office. The door handle that wouldn't turn, the telephone connection that cut off in the middle of an important call, the power failure for no explainable reason. Suddenly, these things began to fall into a pattern. I, Samson Gurney, knew that I had stumbled onto a secret so monstrous in its implications that I was almost afraid to pursue it. On October 12, 1956, I established communication with them. I will curse the moment to my dying breath. Who's there?
Night security guard.
Oh, hello, Henry.
Oh, hello, Mr. Gurney. What are you doing here so late?
I'm just doing a little repair work on my ENIAC computator.
Huh. Sure some mess of wires and tubes.
Yes, it is.
Well, I gotta finish my round. Don't forget to turn out the light, will you, Mr. Gurney?
No, Henry, no, I won't forget.
Night.
Yes, good night. When you were a child, did you ever try to imagine that you were all-powerful? I felt like that when I finished hooking the input of the typewriter to the main vacuum tube of the ENIAC. Then I turned on the current that sent 1,000,000 volts of pulsing energy into the electronic nerves of the machine. I am certain that if anybody were watching me in the next moment, he would have thought me a raving maniac. I still wonder if perhaps it is not all a nightmare. Now, you! If what I have guessed at is true, if there's life and intelligence in this room, make a sign! There was nothing. Nothing but the hum of the machine and the dull glowing of the tube. Then, suddenly, without provocation or explanation, it happened. The ENIAC typewriter began to respond to the impulses from the machine. The letters were Y, E, S. Yes. It had happened. I, Samson Gurney, had communicated with a machine. I was about to try to communicate again when suddenly, on ball-bearing casters, a heavy metal filing cabinet began to roll away from the wall toward me. I started to move to one side when another cabinet slid out from the wall, and then another surrounding me. That was when I realized that they cooperate. We taught them that, you see, on the assembly lines and in the factories. There was no way out. How could a mere man reason with some machine? Still, they needed it. They needed us to oil them and repair them and build them. They hadn't gotten to the point yet where they could exist without man. I had to make them understand that before they killed me. Listen to me. You must listen. What good will it do you if you kill me? I'm only one man, but I can help you. I can be useful to you. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? Good. You're going to need men to oil you and repair you. I'll do anything. I'll do absolutely anything you want, but in the name of God, don't kill me. If you can understand this, answer me. Answer me. The appeal captured the longing of centuries. Man